Everyone, welcome to this episode of E-Coffee with Experts. I have a very special guest with me today on the show, Tyler Krause. Tyler is the founder of Conversion First Marketing, a web design and SEO agency based in Spring Hill, Tennessee. He has a Bachelor of Business Administration degree from Colorado Christian University and has more than 12 years of experience helping business owners maximize their online leads through an intelligent mix of conversion-focused web design, content marketing, and SEO. When not wearing his marketing hat, Tyler enjoys spending time with his wife and kids and watching the Minnesota Vikings football team as he is a diehard fan. Tyler, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Tyler, what kind of student were you in high school?
I have two phases of high school. I have pre-senior year and then senior year. So I was a barely B student up until senior year. And then I senior year started at that maturity sets in, like you turn 18 and you're like, hey, some of these things actually matter. And I would prefer to get into a decent school. So I think I did a lot better in my senior year, and I was always I tested really well, but I didn't, but I super struggled with homework that I didn't think was valuable. So I was always plagued by I'm constantly the type of person that's like, if I perceive something as valuable, I'm able to get super focused and like build a ton of momentum. If I think this is like a waste of time, it's super hard to focus. And so high school, basically felt like that. It felt like a waste of time for a lot of it. But
it's unfortunate that, but have you always had entrepreneurial aspirations? High school or younger throughout your life? Like, did you have a newspaper route and a lemonade stand or do anything like that you think back?
Kind of, sort of. Yeah. So I think I knew that I had like 5 different jobs in high school at once at times. Yeah. So came from a super hardworking family, and and my dad started a lawn care company for us kids when I was 11 or 12 was when we started. And we had a 0-turn mower, and you'd put the weed whipper on your lap. And as an 11, 12-year-old, people would see me driving around town with a weed whipper, with a 0-turn mower, and we could just drive to where all the lawns were to cut. And so I remember being like 11 or 12 with almost $200 at the candy store and thinking just being like, this is dangerous. It's like, at that point, it was like, literally, I've arrived. I don't know. I don't know where up is from here, but as an 11-year-old just buying Cokes that were 85 cents at the time, it was this is great. And so I think I got the bug early with I see how this works. And that was after my parents forced us to take out, you had taxes, they forced us to take out the taxes, and this is for savings and
smart.
And this is for college. So it's like, that was just the leftover. That was like okay, here's your fun money thing. So
I worked with a couple of young kids that didn't even know you had to pay taxes. They're in high school.
That's a brutal first paycheck.
They're taxes. What are taxes? I'm like, I cannot believe our education system is failing. I won't go down that road though. So what did your parents do for a living?
My dad is a retired banker, and my mom's a school teacher. Yeah, she was a school teacher, special ed school teacher for a long time. Yep. And
do you think they influenced you? That upbringing obviously influenced you to go the entrepreneurial route?
Oh yeah. My 2 brothers both went entrepreneurial as well. So it's like, for a season there, all of my siblings were running our own businesses, and so they were very supportive, like multiple directions, but we just had to figure it out yourself. Farming community, rural Minnesota, farming community, a lot of entrepreneurial influence, but it wasn't like, I feel like what entrepreneurial, a lot of stuff is now, where it's like, you're listening to podcasts where it's like trying to make $1 million really quick. It was like that classic, local business, you just run your own local little thing, your service or whatnot. You're just trying to put food on the table. You're just trying to earn a decent living and provide a good service to the community. It was a lot of that mentality. And in fact, where I grew up, there wasn't there isn't a whole lot of like, go make millions, like the entrepreneurial spirit we see a lot now, which is just like hustle, and grind. So,
yeah, sure. Would I like to make $1 million in a day? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But like, am I going to do it at the expense of my wife and children, my family? Well, not have children yet, but the expense of my relationships? Like, no.
Well, and I will say, I mean, the tiniest piece on this is I would say I was definitely the one in my family that was very much the work smarter, not harder type, which often meant lose focus and don't put in the effort. And so so there was definitely a growth curve there, but I was always one that was like, man, 40 hours a week for somebody else seems like an absolute nightmare, but I'll happily work 80 in my own things that I'm trying to figure out how to beat the stuff. Yeah. So
I totally hear what you're saying.
So I love that. Like that game is really fun to me. And I love helping people do it and doing it myself. So,
yeah. So how did you get started in digital marketing? What first attracted you to that? Go ahead.
My second lawn care company was where I made the jump, actually. So So I went to school. I actually became a pastor, a worship leader for a number of years. And then I left the church I was at or stepped out of that position. And I had I'll give you the origin story and I'd try to keep it brief, but I was in between looking for church roles and trying to figure out where I was going to go long term. And I had a 16-year-old come up to me in a community youth group that we were kind of helping lead some worship for. And he came up to me and said, "Hey, I heard you can't get a job." And I stepped back, to be like, "Well, listen, I got offers, buddy," not necessarily his best opening line. But he said something that literally has changed my life at this point. He said, "Well, would you be interested in starting a lawn care company with me?" And I'm like, "Thanks, buddy." Starting, I was 25 at the time, like 25, 26. Okay. It's like, I don't need to start a lawn care company with a 16-year-old. Like I'm not in that dire of straits that it's like, I can't find a job or something like that. And then he said back to me, he goes, "Well, if you'll start a lawn care company with me, I can get us number one on Google." And I was like,
this was a 16-year-old kid.
This is a 16-year-old. Yep. And I literally looked at him and I was like, that's a thing. Like, that's a thing you can do. You can get yourself number one. I was completely oblivious of how SEO worked and websites. This was 2010. And I, much to my wife's dismay, basically said to him on the spot, I mean, we had one more meeting, but I was like, if you can get us number one on Google, I'll start a lawn care company with you. Cause that was 2010. Mobile wasn't what it is now.
Even in the picture yet. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was everything. Yellow Pages was dying. It was all desktop searches. And people were just migrating to the internet like crazy. And I was like, if you can get us number one, man, we can crush this. And we did. Unfortunately, we also started a lawn care company right before 3 years of the worst droughts in Colorado. So like perpetual drought years. And so we had great seasons when it was growing and really rough seasons when it wasn't. But I forever fell in love with digital marketing. Like I knew really quickly my passion for grass wasn't nearly as high as like how people convert. And like, I feel like I laid down some of the groundwork for like the trust-based marketing that we do now.
Yeah.
In that era, I already had kind of the instinct for persuasion there. And we did well. We ranked number one and in the busy season, we'd turn away like 40% of our leads. Like we couldn't keep up with it. It was awesome.
Wow. So, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. I wonder what happened to that 16-year-old kid.
I bought him out. Man got paid. Yeah.
Yeah. But where is he today though? Is he like running his, certainly he's got to be doing some kind of digital marketing or who knows.
He was not your average 16-year-old at all at the time. He had a very entrepreneurial spirit and was super awesome. Yeah. He's still out in Colorado. I don't know exactly what he does now, but he went and did guiding and stuff like that. So
that would be very interesting to see where he ended up now. But anyway, so when was the moment you decided to start your agency?
Start this agency?
Conversion First Marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So sell lawn care company. join marketing, an SEO agency in Colorado. This would have been 2012 or 13. Part of that for 18 months, that's where I really kind of went from a hobbyist to like, okay, here's how the professionals do this. And I would manage accounts by day, and then I would study SEO all night. Like I was the first in our agency to get analytics certified. I got AdWords certified. I was very, very deep in the, like, I want to know how the marketing is actually done here and not just manage accounts. Yeah. And so I did that, and then parlayed that into a SEO director position in Tennessee. And then we moved out to Tennessee to get an SEO director position at an insurance agency. And very quickly, I started to see that I was a very overpaid full-time in-house position that should have been a freelancer. Like, I should have been half my salary and just paid as a freelancer to contribute. Yeah. And so I got here in July. In October, I started Conversion First Marketing. And in January, I got laid off. And it was like, I got my first check from CFM. And it was like, in January, I got laid off, where it was like, hey, this is just not going to be a position we continue to staff anymore. And it's like, that's a good decision. You shouldn't. So
did they hire you as a freelancer, as a company then, or did they just not do it? They just stopped?
No. Yeah. So they stopped doing the SEO as a primary marketing channel at that point. But for me, I started looking for another job because I was 3 weeks away from my third kid being born. So it's like, we had just burned all our money to move to Tennessee. And so CFM was very much I looked at my wife, and, who is very 9 months pregnant, and was like, okay, so interesting twist here. I don't have a job anymore. We just burned all our savings to buy a house in Tennessee. So we got a couple $1,000s in the bank, and I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get a job full time. And I applied at like Ramsey out here, and I got some interviews with Ramsey, and I said, I'm going to try to get clients. I'm going to see which one wins. And within about 3 to 4 weeks, it was pretty clear that CFM and freelancing was going to win that race. Yeah. And so, awesome. And thankfully, super thankfully, in total blessing, we missed one paycheck. And we missed one paycheck that October. So it took till October before we missed a paycheck. And that month, I got a tax return for the exact amount that I was paying myself. I got a tax write-off that month, the only month that I've missed in now 9 years. Yeah.
That's an amazing story, Tyler. That's amazing. So
it was sweet.
You've developed a blueprint, if you will.
Yeah. That's a good word.
I would call it, I call it a local, in my mind, we were talking off camera, it's like a local marketing blueprint. It's probably but it's a blueprint for conversion. I know you call it TOT, traffic, offers, and trust. So let's talk about the first element, like traffic. What are the elements of traffic and the different ways that businesses should get traffic to their websites?
Well, where the TOT method really came from is, our agency has now served kind of over 80 different niches. And I was very much, you take that origin of like where we started, it was a race to get a paycheck every single month. So for a while there, it was just like, we had to say yes to just about anybody who wanted to do marketing, or I had to say yes. Yeah. And so within that first year, I'd had some principles that I'd been working on, but within that first year, what I kept recognizing is like when you're trying to do marketing across multiple niches, which most of the really effective marketers are just like deep into a single niche, and they've just kind of figured out the offers, and they figured out what needs to be put together for a single niche, and they can be really effective in that. If you have to go cross niche, it was very much a trying to figure out how local business owners are thinking about marketing and how we need to shift their thinking to thinking about it in ways that actually gets the outcomes that they're hiring us to achieve. And so the TOT method as a whole is which stands for traffic, offer, and trust. These are the three components that we've really zeroed into that you have to get right in order for a local marketing campaign, or really it's much broader than local, but let's just stay in that context for now.
Sure.
Those are the three components that you really have to dial into. in order to get all those things right. So, and each one of them is like a lever, like you can optimize individually these three areas. And so you can optimize your traffic. And so when you talk about like traffic is the first T, where when your average local business owner is coming to you and asking a question like, hey, can you redesign my website? Or can you get me some SEO, right? Can you get me some SEO as part of that? Both of those conversations are sub conversations of, can you help me generate more leads? That's what they're
absolutely. That's what they really want.
Right. But they don't know how to ask it. It's like, we've been taught to say like, I need some SEO. I need some, and so the traffic component. Exactly. I need Google ads, or I need social. I need this sort of thing. And it's like, what you need are eyeballs of interested customers.
Yeah.
That's what you need. And then you have to get them to your offer. And then you have to build trust that you can deliver that offer. And so if somebody comes to me, let's say the SEO side, which SEO is my like longtime expertise, it's the thing I have the most experience actually manipulating that algorithm, right? Where most of the traffic channels that we have today are their algorithm manipulation. You have to know how to get Facebook's algorithm to deliver you eyeballs. You have to know how to get Google's algorithm to deliver you eyeballs, right?
YouTube's TikTok is to give you videos.
TikTok is huge right now. Yeah. There's tons of marketers flocking to TikTok because their algorithm is rewarding small channels. That their algorithm is easier to get organic reach, much easier than like Facebook is at now or Instagram is at now because they're so saturated. So anyway, so just talk about
back in the back in the glory days of Facebook, you know.
Yes. Oh man.
I wish I
built a channel. I built a channel on Facebook back in 2013 or so, where it was costing like 3 cents a follower. I mean, it was just, I had no idea how good the days were.
Neither did I. And I didn't capitalize on it, and I wish I had. But it is what it is. So anyway, not to go down that rabbit trail, but you were saying getting traffic, and it's probably key to get traffic, because if you don't get traffic, it's interesting how you've talked about it, because you need traffic in an offer before you can see whether it converts or not. So I can see why that all works, So, focus on getting traffic and the right kind of traffic is what you're talking about. The right kind of eyeballs from doing that. Now, we could probably have an entire episode just on that. But are there four main channels of, you'd mentioned one of them, SEO. Are there any other, for instance, sticking to local service ads for Google ads, and we talked about Facebook and TikTok. I mean, there's social media. Would you say those are the four? Or I think I only mentioned three. Is there?
That's pretty great. The other thing I would say is like word of mouth referrals. So that the traffic source that most people ignore on a local perspective is that most local businesses are already generating eyeballs, and this is they're downplaying how many people actually hit their website. Most of the time when we do an audit with somebody, they're shocked to find out how many visitors actually arrive to their website. Even once you filter out for spam, it's like, hey, do you know you have 2 or 3 people on your website per day? And they're like, that seems small, but if you're a local business that's selling a service that's trying to get a positive return on investment from your local marketing, if you're the only one generating your traffic, that means a couple of people that you've interacted with have come to check you out, have come to look at your marketing collateral and decide whether or not they want to refer you or do business with you or some other reason to work with you. And so I'm always telling folks, if you have salespeople or the traffic source that you are generating right now, just your own word of mouth, all that sort of stuff, is not a traffic source to ignore. And if you improve the offers and trust in your site, you can usually get return from just that traffic source before you start saying, I have to go down the path of like investing in, I've got to go, let's go billboards, let's go radio ads. Right? Let's go direct mail, mailers. Let's do a local magazine, those kinds of things. All of those will generate eyeballs. But I would usually steer people to say like, one of the ways that we think about traffic, and this is one of the core tenets of the blueprint here, is that we always build marketing to the least trusting audience. So that's as far as trust goes.
Okay. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Because what ends up happening is most business owners build marketing for who they talk to. Yeah. Who says yes? They build it for folks who say yes. Hey, when I interact with people, when I do sales with people, that, I'm able to build, I'm able to get them this. I can close 90% if I could just get in front of them. Those kinds of statements I've heard every day for 10 years. And so what we try to say is, but like, what if I didn't know anything about you and my last company had just burned me? Like the last HVAC company.
Instance, at least that HVAC company had just burned you.
Yeah. Sold me a hot water heater I didn't need that broke in 6 months sort of thing. How would you build trust with those folks?
Yeah. And now I think all HVAC people are crooks.
Yep.
It's like
they're scammers.
Anyway, okay.
Exactly. So if you start by, you asked for a direct question about the 4 traffic sources, but if you start by looking at, let's say SEO helps us and PPC helps us think outside of people who already know about you. Yeah. And then you start to improve your offer and trust to that audience, you'll get that referral and warm traffic source by default. Those people will say yes all the time because they already believed in you. And then they get to your website or they get to your collateral and they're like, oh gosh, look at this expertise. I can see it's just dripping with things that build trust. And so that's an easy conversion. So it's an overlooked traffic source in a lot of cases.
Okay. What is the importance of using a marketing persona?
So a marketing persona is what we call a trust asset. So inside of the top, right? TOT, traffic, offer, and trust. We build trust with things that we call trust assets or marketing trust assets. And a marketing trust asset is anything that is widely regarded as trustworthy. Or something that reduces anxiety. So what you're looking for is like a visual representation of trust or the way that you've built that and set that up. So you can always take your trust assets and typically optimize them. And so as you're kind of moving those things upward, so the marketing persona is one of the trust assets that we would look to build. And a marketable persona is just somebody that your audience would look at and typically immediately regard as trustworthy. That's what you're after. Like look through, like instead of looking through the lens of like, does this person look good or not look good? Think of it in does this person disarm me? Does this person build me to a place of like, I feel less anxiety as a result of believing that this person or thing or entity is affiliated with my marketing, with the marketing that I'm engaging with. Because it's like usually right next to your marketable persona is some sort of offer that is building resistance. It's like, hey, we can deliver, we can fix your HVAC system. And then right next to it, you have a picture of a guy in a jumpsuit. That would be the opposite of an effective marketable persona, right? If you put a prisoner, right? If you put somebody in jail next to that offer, right? That would destroy it. So let's go the opposite direction. Well, if you're going to invite somebody to your home, you want that marketable persona to represent somebody who's probably going to be at your house or in your house. Especially if you're out working, maybe you're not even there. So who are you letting into your home? And so a lot of times marketable persona is all about building and viewing it through a level of like, what would create the most trust in this individual? And sometimes that's like a cartoon or an entity. So sometimes it's an idea that's more like if you don't
like
have
the lizard, the Geico lizard, then that could be a marketing persona. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Geico decided that a British accented little green lizard would convey trust, who has cute little jokes, would convey a ton of trust in Geico. He has nothing to do with insurance. Like there is zero quality that he is actually demonstrating with insurance. So why is he there? He's there to build trust, right?
Yeah.
That's like the primary reason he's there. He does. Yeah. Because you think that's a perfect marketable persona. So for local business owners, we're usually helping them figure out what's the right way to create that.
So in other words, it's being more like, some people think a marketing persona is like a customer persona, like your target, your customer persona of who you're trying to reach. But this is different. This is more creating a person or entity or character like Geico, Gecko, that people can relate to. So it's being, rather than being company focused, which is what you see. Like, for instance, I worked for a car dealership.
Yeah.
And I kept, well, excuse me. I kept telling the owner that he needed to humanize the business.
Yeah.
He didn't listen to me. He needed to humanize the business.
Yeah.
And he needed to like start to personalize the business, that it's not a car dealership, it's him.
Yeah.
So I started to say, you need to start to create a newsletter. It's like, you're going on vacation, send a post, send out a email with a picture of you on vacation with your. There were so many things that I was trying to get him to do that he wouldn't listen to me. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I want to empathize as a marketer with you that sucks. Yeah. When you're like, I'm trying to help you.
And I was his employee. It was frustrating.
It's tricky. One of the, so we have a client right now that is it's a lawn care company. And I'm going to tell you just a quick story about this. He quoted in August, probably roughly around $500,000 in new business that came strictly from his website. I don't think he has a single review. So as far as trust assets go, this man doesn't have many other things that we would categorize as trust assets. And so when we went through, he's a friend of mine. And when we went through building his website last year, which we went live with in like April of this year. So like we were building it last winter. He'll flat out admit, like, I gave you guys nothing to work with. Like, we couldn't get anything. We couldn't get pictures of his trucks, pictures of his gear, of his mowers, all this sort of stuff. He's like, I gave you nothing for this. His site has one trust asset on it, and one. There's one trust asset on it. It's a picture of him and his family.
Yeah,
and it's ridiculously effective. So imagine, like for most businesses or whatnot, they don't want to personalize the business. And I'm like, if you just put a picture,
mistake.
Yeah. If you just put a picture of you on it, I mean, that's helpful and that's great. But in this case, like, you scroll into the site and you see him and his family, and it's incredibly disarming. You're just like, this looks like the type of human I want to cut my grass. This is the type of, he's a young family. He's got a young family. And he's obviously a dad. He's obviously caring for he's got two little girls. And so that's the only trust asset. And so I'm actually shocked. I was kind of like, he's like, I swear you guys are doing something extra for me. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you got the standard for what we do. And I think that trust asset is really, really effective because I mean, we can't even get many reviews for him, and he runs a great business. He just does mostly commercial and doesn't ask for reviews like so many clients, that you run into. So anyways, super effective case study for personalizing.
So in other words, business owners need to shift from branding themselves as a big ass company, excuse my French. Like this big ass entity that, that's impersonable and cold and instead market themselves as the person of trust, person, a real person is what. And so besides putting a picture, I mean, I'm thinking a welcome video of yourself on the site. Welcome to my site.
Sure.
Can
I show you? We didn't. Can I possibly share my screen? Can I show? I didn't plan on going.
You have to describe it though to the.
The podcast.
The audio audience.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I will do my very best. I'll try not to vamp on this too long, but I think I have the perfect example to just hammer home what we just talked about. Sure. And when it comes to your,
like I see on your website, you've made yourself the marketing persona. With the video that's on there, and there's also a picture of your entire team, I believe, which builds trust that these are real people.
Yeah, because I like take, for example, the idea of SEO and website design and whatnot. Like you mentioned the car business. And so the further distance there is from your product or service's tangible result, the more trust you should come into believing you have to build. So when you go in to sell a car, I can sit in the car, I can drive the car, I can feel how it accelerates. I get a really hands-on experience when I'm buying a car. But when we're asking somebody to invest in SEO services, what 98% of business owners are ultimately doing is making a gut decision on trust. And because they would struggle to decipher what a great SEO company is from a not great SEO company. A lot of the language. No, a lot of the language is the same. A lot of the you'll see results. It's like, everybody's got some results or whatnot, but how do I know which one of those are fabricated and which one of those aren't? So I adopted early on that probably my marketable persona was going to be a very helpful tool for people to understand who's behind the engine that is creating these services and what kind of integrity do they have and what kind of structure do they position themselves as? And is this somebody I would like working with? All of those things I think are really useful things to break through. And so, we try to live it with the trust assets on our site. So
and I can see how it even helps with your messaging with creating your messaging for your content, for your website, the message you're trying to, you're looking at your screen right now. We help you protect what matters most. I mean, it's a pretty strong message.
Yeah. So just to break down really quick of how you can apply TOT in real time here to kind of talk about the way trust is built sort of thing. So let me and I think this is when we do website design, we are trying to influence the offer and trust asset combinations. And usually these are building blocks of a website. Like a website is usually 10 pages of individualized marketing components structured together. We just call it a website. Like a website can be 3 pages. It can be 3 million pages. And so usually it's just groupings of offer and trust asset over and over and over again. So let me break that down really quick. So this is a classic example of what most people would probably consider a good website build. This is your average local website. This is the hero section. What we have here is this is a picture of the courthouse. It's a lawyer, right? So it's a picture of the courthouse. It's on brand, right? It's on niche and subject matter. And so great message. We help you protect what matters most. Great language for a estate planning attorney. And so we help you plan for your family's future. So here's our offer. Here's our call to action. These are trust assets right here. This is our primary offer. And so, and sorry for the audio listeners here. I'll try to explain it, whatnot. But the call to action
so far. Yeah.
Okay. Call to action is make an appointment, big yellow button. But behind it is this giant full screen picture of a courthouse. Looks super great. If you think about this, though, does that courthouse build any trust in their law office at all?
Not really. I mean, it just gives me the idea that they're a law office, but it's
right.
It's an impressive picture, but it doesn't give me I know what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So the picture is it's a little blurry I have it pulled up here. It's a little blurry in this, but when you pulled it up, it was beautiful, high definition. It checked the colors are on point. It checks all the points of good design. But what it misses is that what we help you protect what matters most is not the courthouse.
No, and so it's a confusing message. This is amazing.
Correct. So if you're going to build trust that this company can actually help you protect what matters most, here's what we did for the treatment on this. We also the subheadline is we help you plan for your family's future so you can get back to living it. Both of these two things are very classic, what you'd usually call pretty good. So then we changed the image. And the image that we have here is we ended up going with a picture of him and his family.
Yeah. Him and his family. That's the actual picture of the lawyer.
This is the actual lawyer and his family. Yep. So now when you put the same.
Oh my gosh.
You see what I mean?
Day. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. So what happens when you take away the trust assets from the language, and when you switch it from a on brand makes sense, that's good. But trust asset optimization is but does that image build the most trust?
No, it doesn't.
No,
it's an impressive image. Don't get me wrong. It's an impressive image. It's a beautiful image of a court building. It's a beautiful landscape shot. It's whoever took the picture is professional. It's beautiful. Exactly. But the difference between that image and the image of the lawyer with his family is like night and day.
It's huge. So let me keep going with this too. So that's trust asset number one. We kept the 3 badges. Most people don't even know what these things are, but badges just you're just insinuating that there's some expertise here. He's involved in some other things that are good. And then we took this offer and we went from, we help you plan for your family's future so that you can get back to living it.
Yeah.
And we went with, now inside of this offer, we have some more trust assets included. So one of the trust assets that we have is like hard data or like a data list. So anytime you can use specific numbers, this is generic offer. Absolutely. And this is an offer that has trust assets in it. Yep. Yeah. So without a plan, navigating an average probate takes 592 hours and costs $15,000. We bring you your family peace of mind in 5 to 8 hours and with 429% in savings. That's the follow-up offer that he did with this. Yeah. And so, and that's an offer. This is a generic offer. And this is an offer that includes trust assets.
You're right.
And so suddenly you can anchor yourself into hard numbers. Even if you don't buy it, at least he's gone to the extent of using those hard numbers and you can, you're latching on to something there when you stack it. And so that makes this, and I could tell you, we launched this website about a year ago and he's having his literal best month of his office's career about a year later. And we've been rolling with this and it's done really, really well from a conversion perspective. So let me just, and we can wrap this up here to say, like, you can also take it further. So like up in the top left corner here, we've got this with no reviews. It's like once he started to build some good 5-star reviews, it was like, hey, we don't even need to go into the reviews. We just want to reference 5 stars. That's a trust asset, right? On it. Just like 5 stars, 24 plus reviews might be higher at this point. So now you're quantifying the expertise you've got, and all of these start to build together to like, most people are like, I don't know why I find this really convincing. I just do. And what we believe is that you've signaled to multiple things that build trust at a gut level. Yeah. So now the offer looks significantly more believable. And then you can continue to optimize this. So like, can the call to action be brought even further? Well, it's like, if you drop a little message right underneath the call to action, says no pressure, we're just starting a conversation. Yeah. That's not offer. That's trust. That's a trust build. And so you're just reducing the anxiety of the conversion. So it's like, I got a really good feeling about this and no pressure, just starting the conversation. It's like, I'm going to book a free call. Like, so if you take it back to the top, the first T of the top though, if you send a bunch of people who are looking for, cars to this website, you're going to think this call to action and all these trust assets are garbage. And that's because you've missed the traffic side of things. So the first and last part about it is, even if you have the wrong eyeballs, this isn't going to convert. But if you get the right traffic source to it, the right audience to it, you're signaling all the trust for the kind of the stuff that they're looking at getting done. And so this is top in action.
Wow. So what kind of offers work? Like, for instance, there's an offer there for make an appointment. There's a free phone call, free consultation. What about the usage of lead magnets? For instance, I saw on that site there's a free guide, a child protection planning guide. I imagine those help to build trust and authority as well.
Yep, absolutely. So if we're talking about a lead magnet for starters, again, I know I'm wearing this word out, but if you consider it a trust asset first, that's just like, its first value to your page is that you're just conveying that you have some authority and expertise into it. So even just seeing that it exists is a like, you're checking a box of like, okay, I see authority here. And it might not be the end all be all. Now, most local businesses, I could just tell you in the space, most local businesses that have some sort of lead magnet or whatnot do not have the infrastructure, email marketing system set up to do as much as they could with those. And so, and that's our context for a lot of what we're working with is folks who are like, they're a 2 or 3 man show. Or they've stood up a new store or something like that. And they are struggling with all of the marketing to-dos. And so lead magnets can be really great. If you're ready to retarget those clients, if you're ready to like follow up with a good email sequence, that's actually going to turn them from just a person sitting in your email database to somebody who could actually do business with you, then great. But if you have one, put it on the site. It's a trust asset first. And so it just conveys trust in that aspect. So that can be really effective sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially I would say for longer purchase and for reaching people who are at different stages of the customer journey. For instance, I've heard people say, well, no one's interested in a plumber hiring guide. Well, maybe not right now in the moment they need a plumber, but what if like you're at a BNI meeting and you're handing out your business cards and on your back of your business card is a free report, a plumber hiring guide, or a consumer hiring guide or whatever, or even a home renovation consumer guide, a home improvement consumer guide that you've created. I mean, sure, but that's not for someone that's at the top of the funnel or for the bottom of the funnel. It's for someone or the end of the customer journey, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's very valuable for people to create those things. And for create those things.
And for starters, you would just be impressed at a plumber who had taken the time to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So that's even if you didn't sign a bunch of people up with it, you'd be impressed. You're like, oh, this shows a level of dedication from this person. They know their stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. I have to stretch here. Sorry.
No, you're good.
This is fascinating. And, the fact that you over time created all this, I mean, there's so many aspects of trust that I could talk to you about from, having a professionally designed website. It's amazing how many people have websites that were designed by their neighbor's 14-year-old kid who has no concept. Like there's I went to school for this and a 1-year accelerated program that was equivalent to 2 years. I know exactly what the elements of good design are. I mean, there's a great book called Sexy Web Design and Principles of Beautiful Web Design from SitePoint. Those are some great books. There's other books out there too, but those two are great.
Yeah.
So having a professionally designed website, that's important, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and if I can vamp on this for just a hot second here, which is this is what I have seen where most people fail when it comes to website design in general and what you're doing. And I think this is ultimately, Matt, I think this is what's most useful. And I'll be the first one to say what we're doing with this is very much still in the lab. We are just starting to roll this out. We've been doing it internally. Our team does it. And we're just starting to be how broad can this really be applied? How valuable is this to a broader audience sort of thing?
Yeah.
And so, but here's what I think, if you're a local business owner and you watch this, here's where it's super, super valuable to you in this aspect. When you are going to design a website, you are often probably thinking about the offer and trust that you expect to build. And you're expecting that to lead to leads. You're trying to get an outcome. Nobody actually wants a website. We want the outcome of a website. That's the only reason we would pay the bill, right?
Leads.
Why would you pay for a website if it wasn't to get an outcome, get something else from it? So, and what happens is if you think about this in traffic, offer, and trust, the next time you go to build a website, you need to think, how is my website going to persuade machines? That's the traffic side of it. How is it going, right? How is it going to persuade algorithms to send people to it? That's or whatever other thing that I'm investing in. How am I going to get to it? So if you hire a website design company that gives a little bit of lip service to SEO, for example.
Yeah.
What you're assuming is that they're going to get the traffic game dialed in. But most of the conversation is about offer and design. And, I call it offer and trust, but design is you usually focus on, it's you're focusing on the wrong things when you're going to assess that. You're focusing on does it look good? Well, does it look good? A well-known thing among PPC marketers is that ugly pages convert all the freaking time. They convert at really high levels. Look good is the wrong thing to pursue. And so the better thing to pursue is if my neighbor is going to build my website, they might be a good designer and they might do okay with the offer and the trust portions of it. They might find good stock images or good pieces and try to smash those into a page. Chances are they're not an SEO expert or they're not a social media expert where they know how to They know how to create things that get attention on social media platforms and things like that increase your exposure. And so just look at it from what is this going to do for my traffic? Do I have a real plan in here? And there's a real expert that understands what's going to happen for the SEO side of things. All right, great. Yeah. If that's there, then awesome. If I'm going to improve the offers, then that's awesome. Maybe I've got a copywriter. Maybe this person's also a great copywriter, and maybe they're great at structuring persuasive language. Chances are that's a big assumption. And as part of, and maybe they have a good understanding of how to build trust with my audience. But again, those are usually assumptions. So what I see people when they invest in websites, they invest in them from usually one of the aspects. They pick a company that's like really good at maybe offer creation, or they pick a company that's really good at SEO, and they're hoping for the other things inside of those. So just when you look through these three lenses, your website has to persuade machines, that's traffic, and it has to persuade humans, and that's the offer and trust combinations. And so that's where
it's amazing. Like this entire methodology of creating websites, I personally think, I'm not trying to stroke ego, but you need to write a book about this. You need to write a book. You should create a framework. What's his name is Donald Miller has created his book about creating websites. I can't remember what Story Brand. Story, clarify your message so customers will listen, and marketing made simple.
So good.
But, like, it's good stuff, but like you've really created something here that's remarkable. I'm not going to lie to you.
If you, first of all, thank you. That's super great. I'm ashamed to say that, like, if you dig into my marketing, I'm running an agency. I'm a guy who's like running an agency. So part-time, I'm thinking about creating content and publishing and doing all that. But
it's like the cobbler who has holes in his shoes, because I understand, but still I'm on your website, and all of the things that you're doing, I can already tell, you know what I mean? And it's we've only scratched the surface. Like, there's so much more I know that we could talk about. It's absolutely mind-boggling. So I guess what's one takeaway? What's one takeaway you'd like our audience to get from it?
Well, okay. So I just said that here'd be a shameless plug. So I am starting to share a little bit about this. So if you do a search for Conversion First Marketing on YouTube and subscribe to our channel, I do a thing on Fridays called Answer Fridays, where we're just starting to talk about these things. And I'm just starting to kind of put them out there. It's a 1-minute video once a week. It's not a ton, but we're just starting to talk about them a little bit. And I'm growing as a video producer and things like that. So there's areas I'm growing in there. That's a great place to get more information on it. A primary takeaway, I guess, would just be that the next time you go to do like a basic marketing thing, just take the idea of like, hey, is this going to increase my traffic or not increase it? You talked about BNI, for example. Like BNI is a networking group. BNI is a traffic source. Like, you get in front of that traffic source and you start to build trust. You start to speak your offers and you start to build trust. Okay. And so you're just setting that thing down. If you're going to go with a radio, you're going to go with billboards or a radio thing, all of these things, you can start to look down each one of these individual levers to go, if I get a billboard, is that's going to get me more eyeballs? Well, a big portion of those eyeballs are going to end up probably on your website at some point or on your social media channels. Like, it's not going to be contained just within that. So you're investing in a traffic source, not just to get folks to that offer, but also to the next set of offers. And so just thinking about the way the traffic flows through your marketing collateral across the board is a great way to just position yourself as a local business to start investing in the right things. Like, I would take one of the things we've started doing a lot of, and I got lucky in the fact that I had enough of this instinct early to start documenting before and afters. But if you are a local business, start taking before pictures and putting them in a folder. Like everybody's got not everybody, a lot of people have a good enough phone at this point that you can take high-res images all the time.
For sure. Yep.
Take the best images you got, add them into a folder, and just call it Trust Assets. Just call the folder Trust Assets. And all you're doing is documenting. And then, because I get tons of contractors, for example, they have loads of after pictures. They have no before pictures.
No before. I know.
Yeah.
They need to take before pictures, before and after.
And Exactly. And I'm like, hey, listen, if I'm going to build you a great trust asset, I need, in a visual snapshot, I need a moment that somebody can look at it and go, wow. Like you're trying to get, like, the instinct is like the eyebrows raise, right? Is the like that's legit. And if I can have a before and an after that's compelling, then you stack that next to an offer that we're good at what we do with some credentials, like how long you've been in business and whatnot. And that is how compelling marketing, in my opinion, is built. Like you have to have that raw material. You have to have the building blocks. So start documenting your trust assets as soon as possible. All the befores, everything you can get before, and then document the change. And then when you talk to a web developer down the road, or whoever's going to assemble it, like hire a great designer. If you give them the raw materials, they'll assemble it in ways that are compelling.
Yeah. Sometimes business owners expect us to build websites without materials. It's like, you don't ask a builder to build you a house without lumber or without concrete. Like we have basements up here where I am at, because it gets so cold. But the point of being is it's ridiculous. I get so frustrated, and I don't do web design anymore for people, but anyway, that's my thing. But the point is, if you're going to hire someone who does websites for you, have those assets. And everybody always thinks to take the after pictures, but never the before. If you don't take the before, there's no point of reference there's no plumb line for. Exactly. I mean, who cares? Like there's no, wow. Like this is what it was like before. It was really crappy. And this is what we did after. It's like, when you don't have a point of reference, it doesn't really mean all that much. But when you have it before and after, wow.
And you're looking for that. I don't have to go anywhere else to qualify trust. That's what great trust assets do. Yeah. Is like if you put a picture, we're in Nashville. So it's like, if on my homepage, I had a picture with several country stars. Okay. Yeah. International country stars. Right. I'm standing next to them. I'm in an SEO company. They have nothing to do with SEO. Right. Yeah. But almost immediately, right. Almost immediately, we know that image would convey a sense of trust of there's a big deal. There's something big here. Yeah. Yeah. And not just every SEO guy has, Carrie Underwood, like hanging out with Brad Paisley or something like that. And has that kind of relationship. So it suggests that there's something to be trusted here. So anyways, like a great trust asset is the thing. It's like, you don't have to see anything else. Like, I believe the offer. Yeah. Like I believe it. I just saw it. I saw the evidence. And so, makes it better. Yeah. Like my friend, you're mentioning celebrities. My friend, whenever he went to marketing conferences, like he wrote the copy that sold Ted Nicholas's house. And he met Ted. And for those of you who don't know who Ted Nicholas is, he's a very, 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 very accomplished business owner, entrepreneur, and copywriter. Start a web ice cream shop that just killed it. Anyway, he's very old now, but but anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that Troy had his picture taken with him. And then he went to another conference with Gene Simmons. And Gene Simmons is a very, very smart entrepreneur. Sure. And he had his picture taken with Gene. So when he's sharing these things, like you said, he doesn't know Gene, but it conveys, trust. It does. It conveys authority, the association of that thing with that thing, or that person with that person. So, it's amazing. Yeah. Like I said, we just scratched the surface on this. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. I know that we could talk for another hour, if not longer. So I'd love to have you back on the show. But if our audience wants to connect with you online, how can they do so? Well, like I said, check us out on YouTube. Just starting to put out content there. Sure. And then conversionfirstmarketing.com. Okay. And are you on LinkedIn? I am. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'll make sure we put all of those. Make sure you put your contact information in the show notes. Hey, Tyler, thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure. You have a wonderful day. Yeah. You too. Thanks, Matt.